Hello, my name is Kristen Zabrowski, and I'm from the Hudson Valley, New York chapter. I have been a member of the chapter advancement team for 3 years, and I'm also the Region 2 treasurer. Region 2 is all of New York State and Puerto Rico. Today I'm going to speak to you about how you can use CVent in your role as treasurer. I have found it to be an extremely valuable tool in my workings as a treasurer over the last couple of years. I actually worked with our region to get CVent set up so that I would be able to have various tools available to me to be able to make my job easier as a treasurer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start sharing my screen right now with our CVent. So right here is, I've opened up our Region 2 CVent to our Region 2 sponsorship event, which is our current ongoing event. And I do, as a treasurer, look at this page. I do like to scroll down to the bottom where we get a snapshot of the finances of our event. So I know how much the revenue is for the event. So what I do on this page is I actually use this page as a summary for myself to see where an event actually is producing, which is all the way at the bottom. It gives you a financial summary of the event where you can see your total revenue collected, how much has been paid, and how much is outstanding. I use CVent to manage our receivables. I don't manage them in QuickBooks. Because this is where it's at the registrant level, and you're able to very easily see who has what outstanding. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top of this event and show you basically some of the areas where the initial setup helped in terms of being able to manage the event. I have set up for immediate invoices to send to our registrants as soon as they register, and I also set up for follow-up emails and invoices when there's remains a residual receivable. So where you go to set up your emails is in this promotion and communication, and you can go to event emails. And this is where you set up and create all the emails that you would use within an event. I'm sure some of your team members use this section as well for various communications. When you come down here to post-registration emails, I have set up and where you can set up various emails for your events. And this is where, as I mentioned, I set up my sponsorship registration email blast, which I have set to automatic. So that email sends automatically to a registrant as soon as they register, as well as email notifications when a balance remains outstanding. It sends additional blasts to the participant. So I have set up these to do manually, just because I like to control when they set up. They can also be set up to send automatically based on criteria that you set within CVent. From here, once this is all set up, where I spend a lot of my time is either going to be in the individual invitee management section, where you can look up individual registrations, or in the reporting section to get global overall reports for the event. So I'm going to go to invitee management. I have registered myself as a sponsor for this event, so I can walk through some of the emails that you would see when you process, or some of the emails your registrants will see when they process their registration. So we go into event invitee management and over to manage and invitees and registrants. And here in this section, you have the ability to filter on or search on a variety of different keywords, name, company, what have you. I've already pre-populated it with my name, so when I click into my particular registration, it gives the registration information, but as you scroll down, you can see the status where it shows that I still have a balance due. Now in this section from here is where I would go to, as I said, to send an email to myself or to an outstanding balance due, where you would come up to actions and resend confirmation email. When you hit this button, you can see we have a few different options available for based on our setup, and everybody's setup is going to be slightly different. But I can go to sponsorship outstanding balance due and select this and ask, and you always get some are you sure type questions. So am I sure I want to send an email to myself? Yes, I do. And off it goes. It has sent an email. And when the registrant gets the email, I'll show you what it looks like. This is the email blast that I have received indicating that I have an outstanding balance due, thanking me for being a sponsor, but also an outstanding balance due. And when you scroll down, it tells, I have it set up where it tells you exactly what they registered for, as well as where they can remit payment to by check, or if they want to pay by credit card. So these I send on a intermittent basis to our outstanding receivables. There are also instances that you might find yourself in where you have to adjust a receivable balance due, and you also do that from the screen as well. You would click into orders and payments, and you click into the event or their registration type or item, I guess it's called. And here you can, it gives you basically the same summary information, but you can then also adjust your order amount here. And when you can type in any number you want. I do highly recommend that you have the approval of your chapter leadership when you're making changes for pricing, because it was an approved set price structure that you offered this event for. But I have found a lot of times it's if you're offering an early bird and a long-term time sponsor or long-term very active HFMA member misses the cutoff and you want to honor that cutoff for them, you can adjust the price here to anything that you want or whatever is agreed upon by your leadership. And I always put little internal notes, missed early bird deadline. And when you hit save, it now has adjusted my balance due to the $1,000. And you hit close and it processes there. Now say you get a manual check, because as I said, I manage all of my receivables in here, so I don't consider an event closed until I have no receivable outstanding. So here, when you receive a check in the mail or a check at your event, you can also process your payment here under the actions buttons. And again, it's all very specific to the registrant. It's not to the event, it's not to the company, it's to the individual registrant. So you come in here and you can go to submit payment. And for this purpose, it's an offline payment because I'm being paid by check. And you just enter the information that you receive for the check. The payment date, I use the date that the deposit is made to the bank. The reference, as you can see, it's not required. I usually put in the check number, and then the batch number is also I use the same, if it's multiple checks that you're pressing at the same time for one deposit amount, I use the same deposit date as the batch number, and then hit submit, and it processes that payment for that registration. I'm not going to process it through because I don't want to mess up our event. But once you hit submit, it all processes, and then you end up you'll see the payment information down here, and the payee is considered paid in full. From here, there's a few different areas of reporting. We can report solely on the event, which is through this reporting aspect. If you're just wanting to see where you stand for your event, how much revenue have you received. In this instance, when you have multiple different sponsorship types, you want to see the different levels of sponsorship or members versus non-members fees paid, things of that nature. Anything related to this particular event, you can go through standard reports and select from a multitude of different reports that you want to do. I have them, these little heart here, these are your favorites. So when you find the report that mean the most to you. You can set them as your favorites, and then rather than seeing a whole list of events or reports that you want to run, you can just see the ones that mean the most to you, or the ones that you run the most frequently. And as I said, you can run registration reports, there's survey reports, things of that nature. But for our purposes as treasurer, I focus on the invitee balance report, who owes us money, so that I can continue to send correspondence with that particular person. As we know, there are times when CVent emails can go into spam or junk mail, so we want to be sure the participant is getting the emails. So sometimes it's better to actually take it out of the email, out of CVent, and send them the invoice individually. And as well as if you want to see your online credit card payments for this event, or offline your check payments for the event. If you're running only one event and you're receiving credit card payments, you'd want to run this report right here that'll be able to tell you what dates each of the credit card payments were received. Our region and our banking is set up that we receive our credit card payments on a daily batch process. So any activity on a particular day is batched and sent to us the next day. I know that there are regions and chapters that do it on a monthly basis, which means everything that's collected through CVent or through the credit card process is held at the merchant account and submitted or remitted to your bank account on a monthly basis. I would honestly actually have conversation with your merchant account or through the association to change that, because you could be waiting up to 6 weeks or 2 months for your money. If somebody pays on the first of the month and you are scheduled to get paid out on the middle of the month subsequent to the month of the activity, you could be waiting 6 weeks for your money. I didn't want to do that. I wanted my money right away. So we're set up to receive our money on a daily basis. What does that mean? Or even if you're receiving it monthly, if you're running or have multiple events or back-to-back events that you're collecting credit card payments for, there will be instances where a batch that hits your bank could cross over to different events. How can we manage that? How can we know? How can we see a deposit that hits our bank account and know what events it is paying for, so that we can record the transaction properly in QuickBooks and give appropriate credit to the event that we're running? So that can be managed up here at the top in CVent. We have this admin section. When we click on this, it gives us global reporting abilities. On this ribbon here, you have reports, and we go to standard reports. And we can also, again, see a multitude of reports that are available to us at a more global level. And for our purposes, I'm going to scroll down here to financial reports, and they have this report here called transactions. Sometimes it takes a moment. So based on whatever filtering system is inside the event currently, this is the information we get. So from this point in time, or from this section, we can go up to data, and filtering happens on 2 levels here with these reports. And I take the top-down approach. So if we start at the top and change report data, this is a more global setting for our transactions, and what type of data are we going to filter on. So when you come down here, you can see that the date range is only looking at the previous 30 days. So immediately, the report is only looking at activity for the previous 30 days from today. If you want to go on a longer term than that, then you have to change your filter from here to begin with. So if we go to the drop down here, I'm going to select current year. You can customize it. You can go back the previous year. You see that you have a multitude of filtering abilities here, but I'm just going to say current year and run this report. So once this is done running, it's still going to give me a whole bunch of transactions or a whole bunch of names on the page. I'm not, and they really honestly mean nothing to me at this point in time. So we're going to go to step 2 of our filtering. And here, when we go to step 2 of our filtering, we get the secondary filter levels. And here's where we can select our events. What events do we want to see in our report? From the drop down, you can do a search. For this particular purpose, I'm going to just pull up our regional conference sponsorship, but you can see that there's a multitude of different events that are available in here. If you have multiple events that are active at the same time, this is where you can select all of those events to show up in the same time. So when I select Region 2 and hit apply, it's now the event that it is searching for in the data. I don't change any of the start dates or times or anything of that nature. Transaction date, reference date, none of that stuff I changed. But I'm running this report so that I'm able to figure out what credit card payments and what events do my credit card payments relate to. I know the checks. The checks are easy. We get those in paper and we manage them manually, but the online stuff is happening all behind the scenes. So I only want to run my report for online transactions. And when I hit apply here, I now get everybody who paid by credit card for my event. And from now I'm ready to run it because still it's not giving me any type of payment information or what have you. So we can export the report. CSV is fine, and it goes, you can open it with an Excel, and it gives you all the information related to this event. And it gives us the event title, so we know what event they're registering for, and it gives us the transaction date as well as the amount. It comes just like this for all of the events that we have, and it's all just listed out. So what I have done, in the beginning of the year, we held a webinar series for Excel that we actually charged a nominal fee to our non-member attendees, and we had multiple sessions going on at once. So when we received the monies into the banks on a daily basis, it crossed over several different CVent events that we had set up, and we were trying to track each one of those events separately. So on a monthly basis, I run everything based on the month of the activity. I'm sorry, the month of the close. So when I'm closing the month, so closing January, I ran this report for the month of January, and I manipulated it very minorly to give me the breakdown of the activity so I could see. So I sorted it by transaction date, and then I sorted it by event title. And by doing that, it gave me the chronological order in which credit card transactions were processed, and it gave me, then it grouped the transactions by event. And I put lines in between in order to be able to say, total these to say, do they tie to a bank amount? So in this instance, I totaled up these amounts, and it totals the $105. When I go to my bank statement, I see $105 was a deposit received. The next day, another $105, and for these events. So I can go into QuickBooks and select the class that relates to these events and be able to track how much money do we collect per event, and so on. And you can see this was a busy month for us, so we had multiple different deposit dates that came in, and I was able to trace through every single deposit that we received by event. When we go back into QuickBooks, you do have the ability to, when you get comfortable with a report format that you like, you can save it, and you can do a file save as and save this report. So for us, now every time I come in to CVent to run my reports, I go to saved reports and I select mine. You can see that there's a few others on here that I have the ability to see. Nobody has the ability to see mine. It is set up to be visible only to me, but it's the same thing. I click on this button, I filter out what I need to, I filter what I need to filter, and then I run the report, and it provides me with the transactions by date, where I can then reconcile to a deposit that has hit my bank account. I'm going to X out of here. So from this screen too, just for your information, now when we try to go to events, it doesn't go to any events. We're in an admin screen. So to go back to our events, we have to actually go into this drop-down menu and hit events, and it brings us back to all of the events that we have access to and can see. And that's from a CVent standpoint, that's about everything that I manage in terms of using CVent from a treasurer standpoint. Some other information or I think best practices that I think may be helpful to you is if you noticed, my event was set up, it says HFMA Region 2. This way, when I am filtering on our events, I just have to type in HFMA Region 2. If I was doing it for Hudson Valley as my home chapter, I put in Hudson Valley, and it'll give me all of the events that are active during that time frame. It makes it easier to click off which events I want to look for. And I'm speaking about doing the admin reporting function, so you can see all of the events that relate to you. The other thing that I have done is I linked our bank accounts to QuickBooks. So whenever I log into QuickBooks, QuickBooks goes to our bank and pulls in all of the transactions that have happened over the course of from the previous time that I logged in. So if I'm logging in once a month, it'll pick everything from the previous month's login, however frequently you log into your QuickBooks. And that just, for me, makes it easier, less keying. I can just go and match up the deposits, match it up to my report that I just ran in CVent, and know that the deposit matches, and then I just have to update, make sure the journal GL number is right, and update the class of transactions. I think the only other thing I'd like to share with you in terms of best practices, I have gone completely paperless with our paperwork. We're the whole state of New York. There's regions that are multi-state. There's chapters that are full state. We are geographically dispersed. So getting and transacting paperwork amongst everybody is happening through email anyway. So why print it all out and save all that information to have to ship off to be reviewed by either an auditor, or if you have your books audited, or by the reviewer, what have you. I now can just email information to her. And just as a quick example, this is how I have set up my invoices for the 2019-2020 year. All the support and information that I have behind each check that is written is embedded in each one of these folders that we have. When you're transitioning between treasurers, I would suggest setting up something similar to how we're doing this. Do a Zoom meeting, do a one-on-one. Make sure you're sharing your templates between events. Anything that'll make the process any easier. For my purposes, I have shared all of the templates I have created, which are the invoices, CPE certificates, as well as certificate of attendance. I share amongst my region. Be happy to share with anybody listening to this. I'm also happy to speak to anybody on a one-on-one basis. Please feel free to reach out to me. Jenna's will put up my contact information. And I wish you all the best of luck on this upcoming year. It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be fun. And if you need me, I am here for you. Thank you very much for your time.